patience. God give him strength and help him before his farm blows away.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Bars to Bricks Ministries with your favorite felon, the Rev. Dr. Kev. Hope everybody's more blessed than stressed today as we talk about this idiot medical examiner in Gary Wayne Sutton's case. And all the crazy evidence that is going to bring us to victory and get Gary free, where we can have that big freedom party. Yeah. I don't know if Gary be too much into that. He might be into about anything if we got him out of prison, but you might see Gary dancing to all that. I mean, I think we would all probably partake in some celebrations when we get Gary free. Today, we've gone through several episodes talking about Gary and the various evidence leading to his innocence and proving such. And we've had many interviews with various people. We have covered a lot of this. And I've even covered Dr. Harlan and some of the stuff that he is guilty of. And in this case and in other stuff. And so, it really, we have to look at the totality of the evidence in general, but we really need to look at Dr. Harlan and take an in-depth look, and so you guys can understand the not just a few things that we're saying on Gary's case, but maybe get the totality of this man and his evil ways and deeds and just completely immoral acts. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you guys think. I want input. You got questions? Feel free to ask. Let's blow this up. Let's get so much attention on Gary's case, but they can't help but to look at his case and set an innocent man free from death row. So now, let us look at Dr. Charles Harlan. So Gary was the murders actually happened in 1992, but Gary was convicted in 1996. The trial was actually in 1996, and this was the trial that Dr. Harlan testified in. And the I'm pulling up some multiple articles here that I had up, but they disappeared. So the trial was in 1996. Dr. Harlan's cure vitae, which is basically your qualifications of what your history, your background, what makes you qualified to be an expert witness. Okay, so in his cure vitae, it lists him as the chief medical examiner of the state of Tennessee. However, in 1994, he was fired as the medical examiner of Tennessee. So he was not even employed by the state of Tennessee. Nevertheless, was definitely not a their chief medical examiner. And so talking about this is a news from Nashville, talking about disgraced medical examiner Charles Harlan, and did they put him to death? And it's did the bogus testimony from put us an innocent man on death row. And so I'm waiting to read this in a second. It's trying to load a video, and I'm not trying to have the video pop in the background, but um, Harlan has since died. He died a free man, and he should never have passed away free. And, you know, there's still people, including Gary, sitting on death row due to this man's hired gun, just flat lies and convicting people. Um, and there was, so Dr. Harlan says, confirmed a patient's death to her family by fax. This is his message by fax of how he told a family. She is green and has maggots crawling on her. He once misidentified the bodies of two inmates and sent their remains still shackled to the wrong families. He, after Tennessee man was pulled over alive 2 years after Harlan incorrectly identified a burned corpse and declared him dead. The litany of mistakes and oversights is just staggering. For this Nashville medical examiner, it was their chief medical examiner, testified in trials respectively for over 30 years. And all this stuff was going on. And then it's, it says it's impossible to estimate how many of these cases contain grievous flaws because no one has checked. Harlan was suspended without pay as an assistant Davidson County medical examiner in 1994. His contract as state medical examiner was terminated by 1995, and by 2005, his medical license was permanently stripped. Harlan died in 2013. So even at that, okay, this says 95. Even at that, we're talking a trial in the middle of 96. He was still not, I mean, he lied. And this was never brought up. He was under investigation. This was never brought up. Uh, the DA and attorneys and all that said that they're not sure if they knew at the time. And, you know, you would think in someone in a legal profession that's prosecuting or defending or a judge or something, they're going to know who the hell the chief medical examiner is, especially in a murder trial. Wouldn't you think you're just going to have somebody show up and say they're the chief medical examiner? And just, how does that even make sense? After evaluating Harlan's medical opinions in one 1995 case, Dr. George Nichols, the Kentucky's chief medical examiner, wrote to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, if this line of irrational thinking has been applied to other cases in the state of Tennessee, then God help you and the rest of the citizens of Tennessee. This is from a neighboring state, and they're talking so much. And it says even after losing his position in Nashville, he performed autopsies across much of Tennessee and was trusted by prosecutors to help build cases in the pursuit of justice, which actually should be the pursuit of injustice, because like in Gary's case, he never even performed an autopsy. He never even saw the body. He never looked at the body himself. And it's questionable. He says he tested organ size, but that's questionable now too, because there's nothing in the autopsy report that any organ samples were even collected. So it's just, this is insane. One man caught in Harlan's wake is Wayne Burgess, convicted of killing his girlfriend's young child almost 3 decades ago, years after Harlan's errors began to be uncovered. And in a new push to overturn Giles County conviction, Burgess, represented by the Tennessee and Innocence Project, argues Harlan's medical evidence was pivotal to his conviction. And then it's, the talking about the state finds 18 instances of sloppy work by Harlan, and the list goes on, and it just, you know, there's another case, a similar recent exoneration of a Nashville couple in prison for decades in the death of a young relative. Their case hinged on an autopsy Harlan oversaw, which contained errors in diagnosis and timing. That is important. Timing, because in Gary's case, timing and diagnosis, even the date of death, uh, but timing. He was not killed on Friday. Tommy was killed on Monday. The autopsy report says so. Only Dr. Harlan and the state's coach witnesses said Friday. And it really is disturbing, to say the least. There is just so many other cases like this, not just in Tennessee, but everywhere. But I mean, this in particular in Tennessee makes it even worse of an atrocity because you're talking hundreds, thousands, 30 years of expert witness testimony, probably thousands of people wrongly incarcerated, wrongly convicted, even as much sitting on death row like Gary Wayne Sutton, due to a man who has no morals, who had no conscience. I don't even know how he slept at night. It, I don't know. It just, he was nothing more than a legal hitman. He should have, he was, should be just as responsible for those deaths as the people that killed him because he didn't give proper diagnosis and then he's killing others, like in Gary Wayne Sutton and his uncle's case and other death row cases that have gone unnoticed and unturned. Now we're talking about that. I know we're talking, I want to talk to Dr. Harlan, but let's just look at some death row statistics in the United States. So I want you guys to get these numbers kind of in your head and get a picture of what we're looking at on death row and why one of the biggest reasons we need to get rid of death row. For one, everybody wants to talk about money. So, okay, we'll just start with money before we get into statistics. Death row inmates, it actually costs less for life in prison than it does for capital cases. The Look up the numbers. They're searchable. You can Google it. It actually costs almost 3 times more to the whole system for death row than it does for life in prison. So just on the financial side of it, if that's all you're caring about is the money and the bottom dollar, bam, there you go. We'll just stop right there at one. But for the rest of you, there's more. So not only does it cost more for death row, but if a person has life in prison, if they're innocent, they at least have a chance to prove that. They're not facing an impending death sentence if they can't prove their innocence. They're not having to fight for their life and do so because they're completely and wholly innocent. So let's look at the October 2022 report, and this is from Death Penalty Information Center. So the number of prisoners on death row or facing capital retrials or resentencing across the nation was 2,363. That is probably about the same amount of people that live in our county seat in our town, in the town of Garnett. Um, it's crazy. It's a decrease from July of 31st, or a decrease of 31 from July 1st of 2022. It's down from 92, 3.7% from the 2455 reported on July 1st, 22. The convictions or death sentence of 188 death row prisoners. Let me say that again. The convictions or death sentence of 188 death row prisoners have been reversed pending retrial, resentencing, or completion of the appeals process. 188 people have been exonerated or facing retrial or whatever in that year. Now, in the previous year, 195 out of 2,394. Let's see, the year before that, 2,414 on death row, 206 reversed. 2,436 in report before that, 218 people reverse pain. Look at the numbers, people. This is alarming. It just, and it goes up. The people 219 the next year free, 229, 223. It's real. These are alarming numbers, and it's estimated by the Innocence Project that 10% of those that are incarcerated are actually innocent. So now let's look at 10% of death row. At 2363, that's 230 people. That's just that's too many. That's too many. And we need to do something about this. And those are the people, those 188 out of that 2363 are those that was able to get back into court, that had those avenues, that had counsel that was worth a hoot, had counsel that cared, had counsel that halfway did their job. And Gary had none of that. Um, he had exact opposite. So we're looking at some astounding, insane numbers that just are scary, and they need to be something done about it. We need some changes in our country. We need to make people like Dr. Harlan responsible for his actions, not just lose his medical license and this and that, and all that's fine and dandy. That's great. At least they did something, but that man should have never died free. You got innocent people sitting in prison. You got innocent people sitting on death row. You had kids that died. You misidentified of how they died. There was a 10-year-old boy. He done an autopsy on. The boy was 17 pounds, 10 years old. Said the boy died of natural causes. Obviously, people raised Cain. The body was exhumed. Wasn't natural causes at all. It was abuse. The kid was extremely emaciated, um, very neglected. So, you know, here those parents were running around for like 10 years before they ended up catching up to them. Thank God they didn't do that. They didn't kill another kid that they did the 10 years prior to that. You know, it's a sad world we live in, and I know there's a fine line with justice, but one thing remains that we just overlook. In our system of justice in the United States, someone is supposed to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now the problem is the prosecution don't focus so much on innocence or guilt a lot of times. They just want you done. You're accused, especially within the news. You're accused and in the news, it's all bad news. Because you're gonna be singing the blues. It's because they don't want to lose. It's not about the person was innocent. They think it looks bad. It's a score to them. And that's not the case. I think if we start holding some of these officials accountable, again, there's a line. I get it. In today's day and age, especially, everybody wants to sue for everything. But if we look at some of these actions of some of these officials and we quit completely protecting them, if there is an actual claim, it could be an evidentiary process where it has to be reviewed through but if there's an actual claim, it needs to be looked at, and those officials need to be held accountable. I don't care what capacity they hold. I don't care if they're a cop. I don't care if they're a prosecutor, a defense attorney, a medical examiner, a judge, governor, president. I don't care if they're breaking the law, if they're locking up innocent people on purpose, then they need to be held accountable because they are, in essence, taking that person's life. If I was to go out and break somebody's legs so they couldn't move around so bad, break them so bad they had to have surgeries and couldn't move around for 6 months, I'd be charged and put in jail. But yet, when a prosecutor or a cop or a bad attorney or whatever, in effect, puts somebody else in jail for 6 months, which essentially is the same thing. They're locked down. They can't move around. They can't do nothing. They might as well have their legs broken and paralyzed and can't move because it's pretty much the same. But yet, those people receive no no punishment at all. Nothing. It's insane. Something has to change. Our justice system is becoming a joke. It's not even close to justice anymore. It's a joke. We need to make a difference. We need to make a change. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate y'all. I am just, again, over the top excited. I can't, I'm so humbled. It's almost speechless. I didn't know what to say the other morning, yesterday morning. Well, it was over 10,000 subs. And at the time of this recording, we're about 10.5. And I'm so humbled. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the support. I appreciate everything you guys do, the prayers, the likes, the shares, the subscribes. I appreciate it all. Comments. I love hearing from you guys. I love interacting with my viewers. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be sitting here today. You know, it's not like I make a big, glorious living because I don't. I'm poor as can be, but I'm rich as all get out in total life as I am able to help and bless others. So, in reality, I'm rich in the ways that mean the most. And as I'm able to help other people. If you have an innocent loved one, if you have a loved one that was wrongfully accused, um, sitting in prison, the attorneys say there's no hope, there's no more nothing they can do. Sometimes there is stuff that can still be done. The attorneys just don't want to file. Had a case just recently, just completed appeals. The petition for the review for Supreme Court was denied, and the attorneys told him there's nothing else he could do. Well, there's always a habeas motion, and you're time limited to 1 year. So, when he's saying hi in the background, but it's a problem. So, anyway, you got someone you need help. You want us to do a campaign. You want us to look at their legal stuff. I'm not licensed counsel, but I was a really good attorney, jailhouse lawyer. Um, I can do pro se stuff for the guys, gals, whoever your loved one, and help out. I also can help with grievance procedures and stuff like that. I'm proficient in Kansas, but I can also other states. The systems are fairly there's enough similarities. They're easy to navigate. But anyway, if you need help with your loved one, need help with your loved one's case, something like that, give us a shout. We are here to help. Remember, Gandhi said, "Be that change that you want to see in the world." That's what we here at Bars to Bricks are doing. Is we are being that positive change that we want to see in the world. I hope everybody is more blessed than stressed. Again, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I want to hear from you. I enjoyed all my time with you guys as usual. I have been the Rev, Dr. Kev, and unfortunately, I got to go. But before we do, we just got to get a okay. Oh yeah, I got this new mixer and mic and stuff, and so It's got effects. It's kind of fun to play with. And, it. Uh-oh. I love that one. That's what Dr. Harlan. When somebody says something smart ass or something, or I come up to a good point on something or whatever, that's gonna be my go-to. So anybody that we do a live together and you say something that it's gonna make a good point or whatever, yeah. Anyway, you guys, I love y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Don't let the world kick you in your backside. Y'all stay safe, stay saved. God bless y'all. I'm your favorite fellow in the Rev, Dr. Kev, and I'm out.